There are three certainties in this world: death, taxes, and playoff Jimmy Butler. In 2020, 2022, and 2023, Jimmy Butler willed three absolutely subpar Miami Heat teams to 3 conference finals and 2 NBA finals. While teams around the league were fighting tooth and nail to compile superstars like the Suns and fight to keep championship rosters together against the second apron like the Nuggets year after year, Jimmy Butler would take every Miami team from seemingly nothing to the height and pinnacle of basketball. Jimmy has already scored 40 points in the playoffs for the Warriors and 8 times in the playoffs as a Miami Heat. However, the last time he scored 40 points in the regular season, he was wearing a Bulls jersey and Jake Paul looked like this. How does playoff Jimmy Butler seemingly arise out of nowhere year after year? What about his individual game rises in the playoffs that can't be replicated in the regular season? And how will he enact his madness directly on the Rockets? All of these questions and more are about to be answered right after you hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be giving you all a new playoff NBA video every single week, twice a week, until the NBA Finals all the way in June. So cash in early as we try and hit 10K subscribers by the end of the playoffs. Alright, without any further ado and all the mandatory begging out of the way, let's break down the tomfoolery that is playoff Jimmy Butler. For starters, let's dissect the differences between Jimmy Butler in the regular and postseasons. For a reference season, we'll be using his prolonged dates taking place in the 2020 and 2023 seasons, since he hasn't been on the Warriors long enough for a reputable sample size. In each of these regular season games, Jimmy Butler averaged 33.8 minutes per game and 33.4 minutes per game respectively. However, in each of these years' playoff series, his workload dramatically increased to 38.4 minutes per game and 39.7 minutes per game respectively. This makes sense. In crunch time, the team wants their best players out there for longer. However, that doesn't account for a whopping 4-point increase and the 0.6 in rebounds and assists that he sees through these productions. This is because of the way Eric Spoelstra constructed this offense with Jimmy as the centerpiece for Miami, and opposed to him and Tyler Hero in the regular season, he was just the focal point for these runs. And now we're beginning to see how Steve Kerr is starting to implement this similar set scheme. Jimmy's favorite thing to do is operate from a screen when a bigger defender is on him. He uses his incredible fadeaway and spot up mid-range ability to knock down quick open looks before the big bulky defender can slide out to cover him. And this is a unique ability Jimmy Butler has to get a great look within either the earliest or latest moments of a screen, rather than using the perimeter to control a mismatch like a regular guard. He's one of a very few amount of guys who can and will use their mid-range bag at a consistent clip on a taller defender and even foul bait them with ease. Secondly, a fun fact about Jimmy Butler: if he were 7 feet tall, he would be arguably a top 5 center of all time. Jimmy Butler has the post moves, basketball savvy, pivot ability, pump fake discipline, and footwork to outclass nearly any defender his size, smaller or bigger in the paint. He's just so great at playing chess with a defender, making him guess and scoring off of unethical hoops and tricking defenders with an array of moves just to switch the style completely later in the game. This is how he can take over a game, especially in the postseason, by being purely unguardable one-on-one and also being poised and particular when passing out of a trap or double team. As you can see from his shot chart, he is dangerous on a fast break 3 from the wing, but scores a majority of his points right under the basket or in the corner, which is the easiest shot. It's how he's played his entire career despite being only 6'7". So how does this work against the Rockets? Well, to understand, watch these clips from this game against the Grizzlies in the play-in tournament. The Grizzlies' plan was to overwhelm him with size, sicking Zach Edey and Santi Aldama on him, and this was a bad idea. Zach Edey can neutralize him with size, however, he has the worst touch in professional basketball and arguably worst discipline, which Jimmy was able to expose all night long. He posed himself as a threat from beyond the arc early on, and that made the Grizzlies wary of him from anywhere on the court. This would draw hordes of defenders to him, in which he would make every single savvy pass he needed to capitalize. And then whenever he'd get inside, in comes an easy, unethical bucket against a discombobulated tall Grizzly defender, not expecting him to drive into such a size disparity, especially with 2 7-footers down there.
Side Butler into Edey.
Against the Rockets, it'll be interesting to see if he could do this again, or if it was just due to the incompetence of Zach Edey. You see, against the Rockets a few weeks ago, he only scored 13 points, but you can take a closer look and watch a lot of these close looks just barely rim out. You can see him jogging around the baseline as more of a supplementary off-ball piece, and even see some bright spots with him hitting his only attempted three-pointer of the night. This differs very much from his game against Memphis, because he wasn't the focal point of this offense. The Warriors weren't playing Jimmy Butler basketball. They were playing as a team that is trying to suss out how to deal with Curry being locked up by by Amen Thompson and how to spread the floor. I guarantee you that now that it's the postseason, now that Jimmy Butler has had his breakout game and especially matched up with a very young team, Jimmy will be trusted to take all the ISO drive shots and off-ball screenshots he wants as the focal point of this offense. I think his biggest concern, however, are two things that may end up snuffing out the Warriors in this series. Those concerns being the duo of Şengün and Adams and the coaching of Ime Udoka. Ime perfectly prepared the Rockets to deal with both Draymond and Jimmy's antics in the paint in their last meeting, teaching his team to use their leveraging drives against them and to clog the paint rather than lunge at Jimmy's antics. This worked, and Jimmy was only awarded 2 pairs of free throws. Steven Adams just stood there and deterred any Jimmy drives, forcing him into swinging the ball rather than trying to get a tough mid-range over the tall Şengün, and Şengün only gave up points on a rare Jimmy 3, which you can see him rushing out of his paint assignment to contest as 1, it's a wide open 3, but 2, his coach prepared him for this meticulously. His coach showed him this same shot chart that I just showed you, these same tendencies, and said don't let him in that corner, and he didn't, except for the one time where Jimmy quietly snuck away and managed to cash in his only 3 of the night. This is what makes the Houston Rockets so dangerous. Ime Udoka knows the Warriors and Jimmy Butler inside and out from his experience as the Celtics head coach, and he knows how to beat them. He uses size not to bait and contest every little pump Jimmy has, but to clog the paint and deter him from taking those looks in the first place. He uses a chase defender to take Curry out of the game, but not some short, quick guy who can't expose Curry's weakness of physicality. He puts the most athletic and tough defender in the league on him. Ime Udoka is a defensive genius, and Jimmy Butler is an offensive genius, so who's really coming out on top in this series? I don't know. You watch the series. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got. So please subscribe. It's free.